Hi, Tarik.
Nice.
How you doing, man? You okay?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for asking. One of the first things I wanted to talk to you about is obviously you've got a big appearance coming up now, the Ocean BJJ Pro Challenge, and you're returning champions. That's quite exciting for you as well.
Oh,
But
yes.
before we go on to that, though, I wanted to ask about your kind of journey into the sport because you're like most well known, I would say, for the Tarikoplata, obviously, but before that, obviously, you started out just like anyone else, but in kind of an unusual place because obviously in Norway, the jiu-jitsu scene isn't as big or definitely wasn't back then for sure. So how did you actually sort of find your way into jiu-jitsu to begin with?
So actually, I first started with judo back when I was 12, 13 years old. And I was doing that for, I think, 2 years ish. And it was kind of like scarce with training because it was like once a week. And well, to be honest, it was a great environment, super nice people. They always encouraged me to check out other gyms. And so later, one of my friends from school, he was always talking to me about like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and how it was so like focused on Nevasa and only the ground game. And so I decided to check it out. So actually, me and another buddy went over to try it out, and it was funny because we just went there when there was no classes. It was just in the middle of the day. So three guys asking the receptionist, "Hey, can we just borrow the mats to beat each other up?" So they let us in, which was super nice. And after that, we kind of like, okay, we gotta go to some classes. So I came later for a class, and that's the time when Eduardo Rios was teaching the kids classes. So he was the guy I met when I came in through the door, and yeah, I guess the rest is kind of history from there. It was good vibes, and all the gym members always took us under their wing, and they would help us out every step of the way.
Nice. And then that relationship with Teta as well, that's kind of stayed with you pretty much throughout your whole career, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And then obviously while you were coming up through the colored belt ranks, I know you were winning Euros pretty much every year you set out to compete at it. Did you not find it difficult sort of transitioning from what is like a smaller jiu-jitsu scene in Norway to, the biggest stage in Europe, basically?
So we kind of didn't have much choice at a time because there wasn't much to compete with in Norway at one point. But then we suddenly have this, I guess we could call it like kind of like an era of a lot of competitions, and it was kind of like a big thing in Norway for a little bit, where we would have competitions regularly in at least Oslo, where I lived. And so I guess that's when we started having some rivalries here in Norway between me and Tommy, and a little bit Espen as well. And those rivalries, they pushed us to get better. And we would see each other also in the bigger tournaments, but I guess in the bigger tournaments it was always us against the rest of the world. But back home it was always rivalry. But you could say that the scene wasn't big, but we were very active in that sense that we had more competitions. That era kind of died off a little bit, so we don't have as many competitions as that time. But hopefully we will come back to that and be able to have more competitions in Norway.
It's a good thing you mentioned there as well. Like you, Tommy, Espen, all sort of coming up around about the same time. It's a bit it's something that does happen for like smaller countries. Like I'm from the UK and it's kind of similar here that the talent sort of like comes in waves where like, a small group of people, like you said, competing against each other every couple of months pretty much. And then when they get onto the international stage, they're all kind of ready to keep up with the rest of the world. Do you
And
think you would have gotten as far in your earlier journey if like Tommy and Espen were actually there then?
well, hard to say. I don't think like I would have probably kept on training and still worked on it, but it definitely pushed me to go way further. And what's kind of interesting is that these relationships or these rivalries later became my friends. that I train with regularly, and I travel down to visit Tommy. I'll travel down to visit Espen, and they're always welcome to come here and visit me as well. So I think those relationships are important and a big part of my progression for sure.
And I think you're right as well that you do kind of have that attitude when there's only a handful of you in one country at that level. You do kind of have to stick together and really sort of build each other up as well.
For sure, for sure.
And what's your kind of take on that rise for all three of you now? You've all kind of hit the same sort of like level where you're on the international stage, day in, day out kind of thing. Do you still find that that's really valuable having them as training partners nearby rather than having to rely on like, everyone else in your local gym, that sort of thing?
Definitely. Like I would say 80% of my training is at my own gym, right? And it's in that sense, that's what you need most of the time is kind of like maybe not as high level as yourself or higher. You need usually to practice the moves or to just like train in and day out. You kind of want the, I guess, the same level or lower in that sense. But it's always nice to be able to test yourself and to have the possibility to travel down and experience the higher levels and push, okay, let's say I've been trying out a certain game or a game or style, and then I want to kind of like stress test it. And so then I'll, try it on Tommy, I'll try it on Espen and see how it works. And then you get a lot of feedback from that. And when you get all of those, small fixes or things that you see that, okay, this needs to be sorted out. I need to figure out what I'm doing wrong here. Then I can kind of take those things back with me to the drawing board and then work on it. So uh, I would say this is like a light version of competition, right? Because then you don't have to compete to get that same information. You just have to go and train with some high level people, and you get that same experience.
Do you think sort of like developing your skills in jiu-jitsu works best when you've got that like cycle then of, taking something in the training room with like people not quite as good as you and being able to work on it and then bringing it out to the higher level people and then sort of back to the drawing board and back and forth? Is that how you kind of structure your training all the time?
For sure, for sure. And it's always like this. The closer I get to competition, I will lean more towards what I'm comfortable with doing technique wise and tactically. And I guess after competition season, I'll try to like open up a little bit, absorb more technique, try to see other things that I can add to my game, to my arsenal. How can I grow and be a better athlete? And then as I get closer to the competition again, I'll kind of narrow it in even more.
Nice, nice. And then, as we discussed earlier, obviously you popularized, really sort of brought to the forefront the Tarikoplata, and it's named after you. Now it's pretty much everywhere. Everyone does it. How did that really come about then? Because I know that was quite early in your journey as well, comparatively.
Yeah. What's funny about that is I think the name has kind of outgrown me in that sense. Like so I'll meet people and they'll ask me like, what's your name? And I'm like, Tarik. Oh, Tarik? Isn't that like Tarikoplata? And then like, oh yeah, no, that is correct. And then they're like plussing, making the mat in their mind like, oh wait, you're the guy behind it. So I really think the move has outgrown me in that sense, but it was a interesting start of it because it started out just like me trying to finish a top Kimura, and being a stubborn blue belt at the time, I would try like different things like deadlifting the arm up or just like yeah, pulling anywhere I could. And then later on, I guess I was inspired also by Barato Plata or Barato because he has a very similar move. And then I tried and practiced a little bit with throwing my leg over, and let's say maybe I got it like 2 out of 10 times when I started doing it. And then later on, I started seeing what was the issue with the technique and what needed to be fixed. And also, I had a lot of black belts around me who could give me like pointers and some solutions to different problems. So I was always able to kind of make progress there. It wasn't until maybe like half a year after I started playing with it that I managed to get it in competitions. So that was back in 2015, and I went to this more like a local tourney almost, Gothenburg Open. So it's in Sweden, but just across the border from Norway. And so that's when I got it. Like I think it was 5 or 6 times, something like that. And then it kept like rolling out of bounds. So I had to set it up like 5 times just to get it like once. And, like so there was clearly something there, but it wasn't complete. It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't complete. So after refining it a little bit, I returned in Swedish Open the same year, but was like maybe 3 or 4 months later, and then I got it maybe 8 times on people. So that was a fun experience, and we called it actually something else at that time. But then we were like, okay, that's improper. We need to change the name. We have to call it something. And so one of my friends was like, you know what? The best thing you could do is call it Tarikoplata. That's gonna like build your brand. It's gonna be the best choice you make there. And so yeah, I listened to him, and it was a very good choice because yeah, look where I am right now. So yeah, thanks to Hussein for giving me the advice.
Well, I think it's interesting as well that you say that the move's kind of outgrown you, because I would say the opposite is true as well, where I think you've kind of outgrown that, where like when I sort of like first heard about Tarikoplata and you, and it was kind of like what you were known for, but I would say more so now you're more known for your like ankle locks, which you're one of the best in Europe at. And was that like a natural transition, or was that something that you sort of like deliberately sought out to get better at?
So I feel like my style or my game is very built, I could say, like naturally, in that sense that because I was always looking for the far arm, so I would always look for their left arm, because that was furthest away from me. What happened naturally was that they would pull that arm back and they would lift their right leg up. And so when they want to hide something, they will usually give me something else. And that's when I started entering the legs a lot more. So in that sense, I would say that my game is built very naturally from kind of like trying to always work on one thing, and then you get a different reaction, and then you have to sort of work around it. And yeah, I would say that's how I always built my game around. And I've always like tried to implement new things. Uh, I don't feel like I'm a complete fighter if I don't try to at least learn the other aspects of the game, and I'll even put some time into certain moves that, okay, I'm not going to be super good at it. I'm not going to be using it too much, but I'm definitely going to be teaching it to some of my students at some point. So might as well spend some time, learn it, understand the concepts, and in the end, like if I have a student who's very, eager to learn about spider guard, and I can only guide them a certain amount, then I might tell them like, hey, you should check out this and this guy. He's way better than me at this. So at least then I have the capacity or the knowledge to point them in the right direction.
Yeah, I think that's really important for any jiu-jitsu coach, because realistically, there's so much to do across such a whole wide range of techniques and areas and guards and that sort of thing, that it's impossible for one person to kind of really know everything. Like no matter how good of a coach you are, I think it's important to be able to sort of go, okay, this is as far as I can get you, and if you want to get better at it, then you're going to have to look elsewhere, or I know this person locally that's really good at it. You know what I mean? Like what, however you do that and you manage that, I think it's important to sort of have that ability as well as a coach.
Mm. And also, I think like it's sort of in phases. So I will focus very much on a certain technique or a system for a while, and then I guess kind of take a break from it for a bit, and then after some months or maybe a year, you're like, hey, what happened to that time when I was doing this all the time? And then you kind of pick it up and you brush off the dust, and you're, oh, it's actually quite fun. But what I realized is when I do this, sometimes I like, oh, I will see it from a different angle, or I'll see it from a different perspective where I can like connect the dots to other positions, for example, that I didn't realize at the time when I was doing it before. And so I feel like as much as it is kind of like learning different systems, you kind of want to cycle through them. And then when you come back around, you understand that system in a totally different way than you did the first time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that as well because it's something that everyone experiences. I think where like the penny drops, especially like really early on in your jiu-jitsu life when you're like a white belt, blue belt, coach will show you something and it might not make sense at the time, but then 6 months later it just happens, or someone does it to you and all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense because you've sort of you've just had, like you said, like more time with other things that now make that new area sort of like fit in with you a lot better.
Mm.
And then for you personally, obviously your sort of like one of your biggest like accomplishments over the last few years was that Ocean BJJ Pro tournament last year. How did that come about? Because it was kind of brand new at the time. It was the first event, and they came out of nowhere with a massive budget, massive production. It was a great show. How did you end up getting on board with them, though?
So this is the Italian Federation that's behind it, and it's Dario. Uh, well, his last name I keep forgetting, but Dario is, at least he's the kind of main guy behind it, who's driving it, and he's always been in the scene in jiu-jitsu since day one, and you could say I'm one of the regulars. So I've been competing in Rome since way back, I think maybe 2013. I started coming to Rome to compete, Rome Open, European Snow Gi, and yeah, there's some cool pictures from that arena. And we did some different arenas in the beginning, but now we mainly stayed at Para Pelecone for the last few years. And uh, Dario has always had a good relationship with me, and we've always talked here and there. And so, yeah, suddenly he was like, "Dude, do you want to come and compete at Ocean? This event." He told me about it, and he what vision he had for it. So yeah, I said, of course, I would love that, and with the prize money, it would, of course, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, and it clearly worked out well for you, obviously, because you ran through the lightweight bracket, got 3 wins, took home the title. How was that experience like going through the tournament itself? Because you had some tough matches. Pavel is an elite leg locker, and then you had Fab Yuri in the final as well.
So the interesting part is the rule set. So the rule set favors submission attempts, and so it's always one thing to look at the rules in paper, and then you're like trying to strategize. You're trying to figure out how things will play out, how the judges will favor one action over the other, and so when these type of events happen for the first time, it's important to kind of look at the matches and start looking at what the judges are scoring and how the rules are playing out like in practical sense. And as the event goes on, I started realizing, okay, this is important. This is how I'm going to be able to win a decision. This is how I have to work if I want this and this and that. And so actually, thanks to my coach Fivel, we were able to strategize and come up with a plan against Pavel. Um, so I first saw I first saw him go against Espen, which he managed to finish on a leg lock or a heel hook, and then I saw him against Tommy, which went to decision. And Tommy was constantly going for a pass, and Pavel obviously always going for a leg entanglement. Neither one really stuck, but because Pavel was closer to getting to a submission than Tommy, Pavel won the decision, which well depends on the rule set, right? But fair enough. That's the rule set we were playing, and so that's what kind of got me the idea that okay, I can't let Pavel be on bottom. I need to be on bottom. So that's when I pull guard against Pavel, and the strategy was basically to be closer and attempt more submissions than Pavel. And so I think, yeah, I managed to score like an advantage or a point in that sense through um, ankle lock, and that's what put me in the lead for that match. So it's maybe not the most fun fight that I've done, or like the most spectacular. But sometimes you have to create these strategies and you have to play the game, especially when there's money on the line.
I think you make a good point as well that one of the big sort of like things that happened during that event was where Pavel was up against Tommy, like you said, under like a different rule set. You would have given the decision to Tommy if you were prioritizing like position over submission sort of thing. And I think a lot of people were sort of like either confused by that or disagreed with the decision, that sort of thing. But realistically, like you said, because the priority was already always submission attempts, that was always like laid out. They were pretty open about that with like the public as well. It
Mm.
did make sense that Pavel won the decision, and it's it's interesting to hear that you sort of like took that moving forward. And did you make the same sort of like adjustment then for the final match with Fabry as well?
Oh well, Fabi is more like how should I say fireworks. So sometimes you don't know what you will get from Fabi, but I know what I want in that sense. So that's what I went for. I went to pull guard, go into my game, look for connections, see if I could and yeah, either take his back or go for his legs. He's quite a scrappy kind of guy, so he explodes a lot. And so yeah, not much happened that fight either, but it is what it is. And I think we had our moments when I was close to something. But yeah, coming into that fight, definitely try to go more towards submissions.
And then obviously now you've got the second event coming up now. You're coming back as a returning champion. I think Pavel's coming back as well, if I'm not
Pa-
mistaken.
Pablo is signed up. Fabi Yuri is also signed up. I think there's the trials winners that are also coming in there. Uh, so yeah, I think it'll be a good event.
Yeah, and I think they've done a real good job of like building the talent pool as well. Because I know Alejandro de Jesus is coming as well, and you've got Kenta. So I mean, there's going to be like a real like broad range of styles, and I would say the competition levels increased even a little bit more than it was the first time around. Is
Mm.
there anyone that you're sort of like particularly interested in competing against?
Well, I would love to fight the or have a match, I should say, against Pavel or Fabi again. But Kenta would be fun as I haven't fought him before. So yeah, no, I would love that.
I think that's Kenta specifically is someone that kind of on paper probably would play into your game a little bit more, where he likes wrestling, he likes playing on top. But as we saw at CJR on the weekend, he has a really good leg lock game as well. So I think that's something that surprised a lot of people there. But thankfully, you've sort of seen it a little bit in advance now as well.
Yeah, no, he surprised Nikki, that's for sure. That was good. And no, I like his style. Like he's clearly coming in to make some waves and get some stuff done. And it's always fun with people that trying to do things and accomplishing things. So hopefully that would be good.
And then obviously in the first event, I know Pavel was the only one that did this, I think, other than Camila Kanu from the women's divisions. But he actually did the lightweight and the heavyweight divisions on the same day, which is pretty crazy.
That
Did
is
you
true.
ever did you ever consider doing that yourself this time around, or would you want to stick to lightweight?
Well, I think you have to beat the trial to do that, maybe both, or I'm not sure how Dario wants it to be done, but for me, nah, I think I'll stick to the one for now, and then maybe I'll do it later when I get a little bit closer to the upper weight class. So now I'm more closer to 80, so it makes sense for me to stay under 80.
And then is there anything else that you've got planned for after the Ocean event? Like, is there any other super fights you've got coming up or any other events you're going to do for the end of the year?
So right now I have ADCC Trials this weekend, so I'll be there, and then Ocean is up next, and then after that there's gonna be Europeans Nogi. I believe I won't be prioritizing Panams this year, unfortunately. It's it's sort of like placed a little bit awkwardly in this season, but it is what it is. And then the Worlds, of course, is gonna be on my to-do list.
Nice. And can I ask as well, because you mentioned ADCC trials, by the time this interview comes out, the event will already have happened. But
Mm.
as we're talking now, we're a couple of days away. Can I ask, you've had a few runs at trials now, and I think watching you do that, you've kind of gotten that little bit closer each time. Was it last year or the year before where you came fourth? So I mean, it's like almost there on the on
Yeah, podium.
the yeah. Um, have you made any like adjustments to the way you've approached the ADCC rules over the years then? Is there anything you've done differently to sort of bring yourself that little bit closer?
Well, for sure. I am back in 2016, that was the first time I did the ADCC rules, and so I was just a blue belt at the time. I got bronze, which was fun. But that's what's mainly just trying to play guard and get submissions. So now I did a trials first in Poland when I lost, I believe, the quarterfinals or maybe before that. But then the one in Zagreb, that's when I got fourth place. Um, and I think my evolution from all of these different events is one, I have a better stand-up game. So I've actually think I've had takedowns in both the previous ADCC trials. So I guess that's something. And my top game is a lot more. Well, I'm more confident with it. I'm comfortable staying on top. Um, and like my whole game has expanded quite well. So like from, let's say, previous ADCC trials, I didn't play any reverse close guard. Now I do play reverse close guard. So I believe knowledge wise and experience, I have a lot more to come with into this trials. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's gonna be a really nice experience, and also nice to build some confidence coming into Ocean. So that's my plan.
Nice, nice. That makes sense. And are you doing 77 kilos at the ADCC?
No, I'm actually doing the 88 because I could have probably cut down to 77, but my experience is that it takes a really big toll on my body, and so Ocean is perhaps more important to me. And so having that in mind, I don't want to be cutting too much. Last time I did this cut to 77, well, I could have probably taken more care of myself, but I went on to a seminar tour right after. And then I came home and I had like a staph infection and I was out for 2, 3 months. So that was like horrible. And so, yeah, this time around, I'm trying to pick a little bit of which tournaments I'm trying to prioritize, and especially having a tournament not too long after the ADCC trials, then I don't want to make too much of a cut now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, especially if you do have to drop a kilogram or two for Ocean as well. And even though you'll be probably one of the smaller competitors at 88 kilos,
I
do
will.
you do you think you'll actually find it better competing then, not having to go through that weight cut? Like, how would you feel on the day, kind of thing?
So not to shame the big heavy guys, but I feel like they're less technical to some degree, and maybe I can capitalize on it, maybe not. But I believe my game can be well suited against bigger opponents, and so we'll see how it plays out. I still think like uh yeah, having a good day, eating well, not dehydrated. You know, I don't have to cut anything for this one. I think I can even weigh in with a backpack on if I wanted to. But point being, like I'm gonna be in a good shape coming in, so that's nice.
Nice, nice. And That's pretty much everything I wanted to run through with you today. But is there anything that you want to say or anyone you want to give a shout out to or anything like that before I let you go?
Yeah, shout out to Progress, my sponsor. And yeah, I'm always posting things on YouTube. So if you guys want to check it out there, I put out mostly tech like instructional videos. But I will try to get more into like vlogging and documenting stuff. It's just I'm horrible at talking to the camera when it's not jujitsu. And so no, please follow me there or my Instagram, Tarik BJJ, and yeah, stay in touch if there's anything you guys want or need or anything like that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today. And I wish you the best of luck as well at ADCC on the weekend and then in Ocean in about a week or two's time.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.